Hey folks, this is Gray here, and today we're going to be looking at the Bluetti AC300 as well as the B300, which is the battery module that comes with the unit. Now you can attach 4 of these B300 batteries, which makes this a modular system. Hold on to your pants, folks, because if you were to buy this entire system, it would equate to 12,288 watt hours. This also offers split phase, so that you can add 2 AC300s and 4 and 4, which is a total of 8 B300s, and literally have an entire system for your entire home. Anyways, what I got and what I'm going to show you to give you an idea of what's in this video, first we're going to go over the specifications. We'll look at the front panel, the inputs and outputs. We'll do some testing, and then we'll wrap it up with me. Now, for some of you folks that don't want to hear me ramble on about specifications or some of the things that you may not be interested in, I will add chapters to the video so that you can skip through it and find what you need. Now, one thing I do want to mention, at the time of this video for the next 2 days, which is today and tomorrow, if you are looking for a system like this, just the system that I'm showing you, the one AC300 with the one B300 battery, or modular system battery, however you want to look at it, they're taking $1,000 off for Prime Day sale. So if you're looking for something, this might be the time. If not, then you'll probably have to wait till Black Friday and see what Bluetti has to offer at that point. All right, so this is not a lightweight system. Again, this is more for long-term portable power, if you want to call it portable power. The AC300 itself is not too bad. It's about a little over 40-some pounds. But each B300 battery is about 80 pounds. Luckily, they have these nice handles that you can use to pick them up and move them around, being that it's modular, but you know, you're going to have some way to move these things around. Now, there's some specifications here that literally blew my mind once I started reading them and started experimenting with the AC300. Let's kind of dive into the specifications real quick and talk about the AC300 and the B300 combination. A single AC300 can handle up to 3,000 watts and peak out at 6,000 watts. Now, each one of the B300s offers 3,072 watt hours. So you figure if you have 2 B300s, then you're a little over, I'm not going to be able to do the math that quickly, but over 6,000 watt hours. And you can see how you can add to there, because you can add 4 of these B300 batteries to the one AC300. Which will give you a number of, I did write this one down, 12,288 watt hours with that single unit. You folks that are trying to build an off-grid system, or some of you folks that want a totally emergency power backup system outside of a gas generator that's totally run on solar, and that's another thing in itself, is the solar capability of this thing, because it has 2, not 1, but 2 MPPT controllers built into the unit. Each one of the batteries have about 3,500 life cycles, and if you were to use that on a daily basis, you'd get about 10 years from charging the battery from discharging the battery all the way from 100 to a 0, from back up to 0 to 100. That is 1 cycle. On average, on a daily basis, you would get about 10 years. Of course, for emergency preparedness, when you're using this for specifically emergencies, that would last you quite some time, or let's say that would last you a lot longer, versus the folks who are using it on a daily basis for an off-grid application. Another quite interesting thing about the Bluetti AC300, it has a 24/7 uninterruptible power supply system. And here's what I like about the UPS. It's programmable. So you can work this UPS system to work for you. You go into the app, and the app, you can kind of click around in there, and it gives you some options on that. I'm not going to go too deep onto that, but I just wanted to mention it, that it has the capability of being a programmable uninterruptible power supply, which I thought was really great. Now, there is 7 ways to recharge this thing, and we're going to go over charging times here in a second. So the first one is AC. Then you have solar, car, generator, even lead acid battery, dual AC plus AC and solar. So you can do dual AC or AC and solar. Those are going to be your fastest ways to charge this thing. Max solar output is 2,400 watts. Let me repeat that, 2,400 watts, folks. Now, this here, you can charge it. You can charge it via AC, 3,000 watts max. Now, some folks are going to be like, Gray, 3,000 watts, that doesn't make sense. It does if you have a 30 amp receptacle. So it would work on a 30 amp. Now, if you only have a 15 or a 20 amp, which what most houses have, you're going to get anywhere from roughly, from what I've noticed, about 1,600 to 1,700 up to 1,800 max. That being said, the inverter can adjust anywhere from 1800 to 3000 watts, depending on, like I said, your wall audit and according to your needs. Again, the AC input is about 1800 watts by default, which can boost to 3000 watts with a 30 amp charging cable, which is sold separately. Let me make sure I mention that. So now that's all the specifications that I'm personally going over in regards to this unit. Let's take a look at the front of the unit itself and kind of go over some of the inputs and outputs of the AC300 as well as the B300. All right, so as you can see here on the screen, we'll start over here with a DC output. You have a 12 volt by 30 amp output. You have a 24 volt and a 10 amp output. They both have like the cigarette adapters. That's what I call them. Moving on from that, you have another DC output section here. And it is a USB Type-C. You have one of those at 100 watts. You have a USB-A at 18 watts by 2. And then you have another USB-A 5 volt 3 amp output. All right, so let's move on to the AC output, which is rated for 100 to 120 volts at 3000 watts, which is also a pure sine wave inverter. Now, you have 6 outlets. These are 6 AC outlets of your standard outlets. They're 20 amp max, which is awesome because sometimes they limit themselves to 15 amps. And I have issues with running heaters and other high amp appliances. Let's move on to the big boy, especially for you folks that are in the RV systems. This is a 30 amp outlet, which is a 30 amp max outlet, which is very awesome if you're an RVer, for some of you folks that do other types of things that have the specific cable that you need for this, which is also that you can purchase additionally outside of the cables that they give you with it. All right, so let's move on to the side of the AC300. So on the side of the AC300, you're going to see a weird 3-prong outlet. That's going to be your AC input. Then below that, you're going to have a DC input 35 of 150 volts DC, 12 amps times 2. And then you're going to have a communication interface, which is the third option right here. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but that's if you were going to start connecting these things. Like a split phase and some other options that they have. Folks, sometimes I just don't have all the scientific, information in front of me, and it's just, I don't want to give you the wrong information, but I want to at least show you where these ports are located in case you're coming across this video and trying to figure things out. It'll at least give you an idea where things are located at. I would suggest always following up a little bit more research, going to their website by clicking the links down below, and doing some further detailed information gathering. That being said, let's move on to where you connect your batteries. So as you see, you got 2 battery connections. I have one battery connected to the top port. They usually, it'll say BAT1 and BAT2. BAT1, of course, is sitting there on the top, and then BAT2 is below. It gives you the specifications down there of the batteries. These things have a locking mechanism so that when you put it in there, what you want to do first is you want to make sure that the 2 white dots line up. Insert that, you'll feel it kind of click, and then you have the option to lock it in so that it doesn't fall out or if it gets moved around or bumped for some weird reason, which it shouldn't, but you can lock it in so that it comes in there nice and tight. So let's move on to the B300 panel because you get some options there as well. You can use the B300 independently of the AC300 as a monster size power pack per se, right? Which again, it's 3072 watts, so it can come in handy for all kinds of different things. But let's take a look at that real quick in the front of the inputs and outputs on the device. So on the front of it, you see your basic cigarette adapter. So you have that on the front of it. You also have a PD100, and then you have a regular USB outlet at 3.0. And then you have the power button, of course. But here you want to pay attention to this is you can turn this on and off independently. And it shows you how much power is there available, 0 to 100%. So it'll let you know how much power is in the battery itself. All right, so moving on to the side of the B300, here's where you're going to see your DC input, which you can see here it says 12 to 72 volts DC at 10 amps. This is where you would put, let's say, your solar panels. All right, so moving down to the second DC input, you're going to have the 58.8 volts DC / 8 amp port there. Now you can use one of the old Blue Yeti bricks for this. Basically you plug it into a wall, it runs that, it converts the AC into DC, and you can plug that into that thing if you want to charge it independently of the unit itself, of the AC300, to use it. And then you can, of course, power it that way. Now, that being said, let's move over to the right-hand side of this, which is going to be a little bit harder to see where I'm trying to reach in here because it's kind of heavy. to move this thing around. Again, I said it's 80 pounds. This is where you're going to be able to connect your batteries to your AC300. As you can see, you have two options there, BAT1 and BAT2, kind of a reiteration of what I discussed on the AC300 outputs, and these are going to be your other inputs to this. So they're going to basically connect, I don't know if they're output inputs, but you kind of get where I'm going with that. This is how you connect the batteries with this beefy monster cable, which is awesome. So for all you amazing people that sat through all the specifications and sat through going through the front panel, I truly appreciate that. Now now we're going to move on to the fun stuff, which is the testing. I will be using a hot plate, a dual hot plate. I will be using a DC powered AC unit, and I will also try to use another AC unit, which is AC to AC. And then we'll also be using a heater just to kind of push those things, because those are the biggest draw appliances that I have that I can feel that it would be applicable to emergency preparedness, because you need to either cool yourself, you need to heat yourself, and you need to somehow cook food and boil water. So those are the things that I focus on. So let's get into the testing. We'll test those things out, see how well the AC300 does, and then we'll come back to me. We'll wrap it up with my final thoughts as well as a question to you, my viewers. All right, folks, let's do some testing. First, we're going to use competitor's product, which is the EcoFlow Wave 2, which is also, EcoFlow has some good sales on Prime Day too, just saying. Might want to check them out. Anyways, we're going to be using the EcoFlow Wave 2 because a DC AC works a lot better with a system that can run a portable power station system, or a power station system runs a DC AC way better than it would run that AC that's hiding way over there. Anyways, what I'm going to do during this video is I'm not going to plug it in. I'm going to kind of leave it unplugged here off the wall. We'll see how it does, it not being plugged in. Now, some of you folks are going to be wanting to know, how will it charge? So let me throw something on the screen for you to see. This is when I was charging the unit earlier. I didn't want to charge it fully, just to see where I'm at 92% to give this thing a run for its money. As you can see there, it is charging a little around 17, almost 1800 watts off my 15 amp outlet. Anyways, back to this here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn on the AC. So this is how easy it is to use. You can turn that, you can click that button there, which is going to power this down here. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take this AC thing here. We're going to flip this open and we're going to plug that in. See if I can do it one-handed. That we can. You're going to see the light come on there. And then we're going to turn on the AC. Right now the load is showing nothing. So let's go ahead and turn this thing on. What I like about this thing, I mean, I shouldn't be talking about it, but I like the fact that it does AC and heat. All right, so that's kicking on. Oh, that feels good. Yeah, that feels good. All right, so let's go back over here and pay attention to what we're doing. 744 watts, 750 watts. And you can see right there that it's being pulled from the Wave 2. And that's with it running the AC part of it there. So that's kind of neat. So what I want to do is I want to check this out here and get a little bit more of information in regards to the output voltage, the output power, output frequency, and the output state. So that gives me the information that I can see there and kind of keep a better eye on it outside of the main screen. Again, this is a very easy to read screen. Love it. They did a great job on this, and I've seen similar screens like this, but all in all, it's solid. And you can also do this on the app as well. All right, so this is one of those kind of roll-arounds. They're not the most efficient, but they're handy because you can roll them around and you have a little bit of a footprint if you're in an apartment, versus some people can't fit a whole window unit in there. And some folks may ask the specifications of this unit here, and I think it's here on the side. There you go, folks. You guys can screenshot that and look at the draw on this, the model number, and all that jazz there to kind of give you an idea. To the AC300. Now that that's plugged in, let's tap that screen. Zero load. Now let's go ahead and turn this thing on. We're about 187. Once the compressor kicks on, we will see a huge jump in that. There it goes. Compressor just kicked on. We're at 900. It's actually evening out pretty good. I love testing AC units out because it feels really great in here when they're running. But as you can see there, I have it set to 62 on cool. Again, sorry for all the wind noise, but that's how it is when you're testing things that have fans on them. And again, we can click that there and get a little bit more precise on the load. We're at 1,000 watts. 1,000 watts, folks. Because again, a portable unit like this is going to have a lot more draw, especially as it's coming to temperature. Now you always have to take that into consideration, is when you have a unit like this, once the room comes to temperature, this output will drop, usually in half or lower. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. But as you see, it's pulling over 1,000 watts. Now, here's a good thing though. This unit is handling it with no hiccups, sorry. I just hiccuped. But as you've seen in the past in some of the other reviews I've done, some of these units can't handle a unit like this. And I've had a 2,000 watt power station fail when trying to hook it up to an AC unit. This thing is working great. All right. So let's put something else on there, and let's grab the hot plate and heater and try those units out as well. All right, folks, so here we have the hot plate. If you turn both of these hot plates on, it can pull up to 1,800 watts. And then we have a portable heater, which are something that a lot of folks have handy on them to heat themselves, especially during winter, a little room and whatnot. But that thing can pull 1,500 watts when it's maxed up on high. As you can see, they're both plugged in to the AC300. Let's tap that screen. We have 0 going in. So those things are kind of like on standby. So what we're going to do first is we're going to turn on the heater, which I'm not a fan of because it's going to get hot in here. But we're going to push that heater and see what we get. We're going to try to see if we get this unit to fail. Now, I always like to make this statement. Do not try this at home, because if you blow your several $1,000 AC300 unit, Blue Yeti may or may not cover it under their warranty, depending if you did it on purpose like I am. But this is just to show you, my viewers, if this unit reaches its peak past its max at 3,000 and it goes beyond that, because this thing's supposed to peak out at 6,000 watts. And that's what's called doing an honest review. If it blows up, or not really it blows up, but it goes into failure, then we know that some of the specifications may be wrong. But I've learned in the past that this is being 20 amp max, sometimes that and these and the draw will create issues. So sometimes it's not the fault of these units. All right, so let's give it a shot and let's stop jibber jabbering and turn the heater on. We'll go ahead and turn the heater. Let's just max everything out right away. Let's turn the heater on to high. And where am I at with that heater? Oh, there it is. That's high. Turn that all the way to high. Oh, this button's all weird. Oh, no, that is. There we go. High and high. Let's see our draw. We were at, was at 1,500, because that's the max output of that unit there. It's 1,500. Let's turn the first hot plate on. And we're going to turn that all the way on high, as you can see there. We're at 2,424. So we still haven't reached the unit's max operating wattage. And I'm surprised that this is actually lasting as long as it's doing, because we were at 92% during the beginning of this testing. So very good inverter, very efficient so far when it comes to a unit like this. All right, let's push this thing, folks. This should reach over the 3,000. We'll go ahead and turn this on all the way up to max. And we are over the 3,000 watts. So how long can it hold over its peak, or not peak, but its max wattage at 3,000 watts? I'm going to keep that on so we can see. We're running at 3,092.91. Definitely over the 3,000 watts, which is what this unit is rated for. I'm trying to see if we have any issues. Now, one thing I noticed, the fan hasn't kicked on at all until now. But I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'm going to get close to that fan. Very quiet. This is the most quietest power station that I've ever worked with. That's awesome, folks. No issues, running everything smooth beyond its maxed. Again, folks, please do not try this at home. Don't waste your hard-earned money and blow something up. I'm doing this for test purposes to see if you have a unit that runs this hot or runs this much watts and it hits a surge. How long will that surge before the unit goes into protect mode? Again, we are not connected to the grid. As you can see, there's nothing coming in. Let's turn on the AC, and this should be entertaining. Here we go, folks. There we go. We got an alarm. Inverter overload warning. Clear? Yes? So we got it to fail. We got it to fail, folks. Now the unit is trying to kick back on. So the unit will restart itself even after the alarm goes off. So let's say if I turn, let's say, okay, I hear that, I'm going to turn some of this off because everything is still running. It's letting me know that it's trying to handle the power. Folks, I mean, if you've seen this, this is awesome. It restarted itself running the AC, the power, the dual hot plates, a heater, all at the same time. It's giving me an alarm, but it's still handling it because of that peak, that 6,000 watt peak. This thing is awesome. This thing is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the hot plate because it's getting extremely hot in here. I don't want anything to burn up. So we turn that. Now we have a heater and an AC running, and we're pulling at 15. And to be transparent, the AC did not kick on its compressor, because if it kicked on the compressor, that would bring it up to 1,000 watts when we would have been over about 4,500 watts total, and we would have definitely shut this thing down. But you can look at the alarm and see if there's anything there. You can clear the alarms. Yes, go back. You can get some more data in there, battery information. So it stores a lot of information in there. Alarm history. It'll show you the alarms that we had, the error code, and you can always share that with your Blue Yeti rep. Turn this off. You can always share that with your Blue Yeti rep if you have an issue with your unit. Give them the error codes, the time and date, and they can check that out for you if you run into those situations. Anyways, very impressive unit, folks. I think the testing went well. I'd love to hear down in your comments what your thoughts are on the testing of the AC300 and the B300 Blue Yeti, and you know, go from there. You know, let's be. I'm just wondering. You know, for me, it performed extremely well. If you've watched my channel before and seen how I've done these tests, this unit did phenomenal compared to a lot of other units out there, especially when it got into the overload and kicked back on. And remember, the entire time we've had this thing unplugged. It's running on its own, and it's running all of that stuff independently, or a couple of them together with no hiccups, outside of trying to pull over the peak or the wattage that's rated at 3,000 watts. So if you're running a refrigerator, folks, and you had this as your backup, a refrigerator or a freezer like it's sitting on, you know, a deep freeze and a fridge, this would work and save you a ton of issues and headaches down the road if you were to lose power for a long period of time. Remember, this thing charges extremely fast. You can charge this battery right here within an hour. From 0 to 100%, not the 0 to 80 stuff, 0 to 100%. Anyways, I think I've got my point across, and we'll go back to me and wrap this video up, give my final thoughts and questions to you, my viewers. All right, folks, so long video, but hopefully it was very informative. Hopefully you got some information. Hopefully you're now aware of Blue Yeti's Prime Day sale. And of course, whenever they have other sales, I will mention those. I think the AC300 with the B300 has great possibilities, as you can add, it's a modular system so that you can add multiple batteries. You can have up to 4 batteries to this unit, equating to over 12,000 kilowatts. And the price that it's on sale right now, if you look at it, even if you look at a 500 watt unit, which you get per kilowatt hour, this thing kills it, especially if you use the government rebate, if you decide to go that direction. So my question to you, my viewers, is do you think something like this would make a great off-grid application? Do you think something like this is affordably priced to the point, if you had the finances, that you would invest in something like this for an emergency situation, for emergency backup power in your home? And for you RVers that happen to catch this video, how would you use this as well? So looking forward to hearing your thoughts and your comments down below, and help other folks. If you know more or you have a Blue Yeti product and you've used it for the last 5 years, 2 years, or just in recent times, if you've used it, share your experiences with other folks down in the comments and interact with one another, because it helps each other learn a lot more from outside of just the information that I'm sharing with you today. If you did get any value out of this video, please hit that thumbs up button. It's truly appreciated. And if you're new here, take the time to subscribe. It's truly also appreciated. And check out the rest of the channel. We do lots of different things on the channel. I kind of a little bit all over the place, from gardening to food hauls to food storage, to just about all kinds of different reviews, from knives to comms, to the list goes on. I'm not going to bore you to death with that because this video has been long enough. Other than that, folks, thank you so much. And I wanted to say something else, but I can't think of it, so I will leave you with this. Remember, folks, you are not alone. This is GreyMan. I'm out. I'll see you guys in a rebound. God bless. And again, thank you for taking the time to watch this video.